You want to coordinate your people to function as a team. Hey, I am Chuck, the bureaucrat, and today what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through how I organize a team of people for an important meeting. Now, it always fascinates me how little effort other organizations put into just getting their people ready for a meeting. Military and law enforcement personnel have this technique that they call a four-man stack that they use so that they can breach, clear, and control a hostile room. And while you're not going to be throwing any flashbangs in a conference room, no matter how much you might want to, that same level of rehearsal and coordination is key to your team's performance. Now, you may not have 4 people on your team when you go to this meeting, but this is a basic template that you can improvise from. Real quick, let's get oriented. We've got a conference room table. We've got seats at the table. We've got somebody who's at the head of the table. And then we've got folks who are against the wall. All right, so let's start with your number 1 man. This is typically the senior most representative for your organization who's going to be in the meeting. What they're going to do is they're going to sit at the table and they're going to push as far as they can towards the head of the table. Fact of the matter is, the closer to the head of the table, the more influence they're going to have, particularly with people who don't really know who they are. And by sitting closer to the head of the table, they get more opportunity to talk. I've actually been in meetings where I was able to sit at the table and push myself so far that I was actually at the head of the table and running other people's meetings. Next, you get your number 2. Typically, your number 2 is the subject matter expert from your team on whatever issue the meeting's about. Now, most people like to put the number 2 as a backseater directly behind their number 1, but I think this completely misses a golden opportunity. I prefer to have the number 2 on the opposite side of the table from the number 1, down the table, and preferably sitting between 2 representatives from other organizations. This orientation gives tons of nonverbal communication between the number 1 and the number 2, and if the number 2 does speak, they have the credibility of sitting at the table. But the other advantage of having the number 2 in this position is that they're far enough down the table and sitting with people from different organizations so that if it's necessary, they can have a quiet sidebar without disrupting the main meeting. And that means they can have real-time clarification of the technical issues that might be glossed over or confused in conversations closer to the head of the table. All right, now your number 3. Your number 3 is your primary note taker. This person is against the wall and as close to the head of the table as you can get them. This is particularly important because in some big meetings, there's seating assignments. And this pins your number 1 down so that they can't slide towards the head of the table. And at the same time, it pushes your number 2 back against the wall. And in these situations, a lot of times what the head of the table will do is have quiet sidebar discussions that's difficult for other people in the room to know what's going on. Now, it helps if your number 3 belongs at the head of the table. And what I mean by that is maybe they worked with the people chairing the meeting in the past, so they're welcome in that group. Maybe they have a friendly relationship with one of the people who are backseating folks at the head of the table, but it naturally puts them in that position. And if your team has information that you're going to table drop or introduce during the meeting, you want to make sure that your number 3 has copies of that so they can hand it directly to the folks at the head of the table as soon as that information enters the meeting. Okay, last we have the number 4, and really this is your utility person. This is the person who is going to make sure that the meeting goes off smoothly for your organization. So maybe they make sure that the VTC connects properly to the folks in your organization. Maybe they bring last minute materials, or maybe they show up early and secure a seat for the number 1 person.
Shouldn't it be the number 1?
It's because the numbers don't mean the order that the people are entering the room.
Well, it should be.
Anyways, you can mix and match the roles and responsibilities of these people to suit conditions on the ground. In the meantime, what I'd ask you guys to do is have your teams subscribe to my YouTube channel so that they can get even more effective at conducting the nation's business.